You're listening to Season 11 of Mobile Suit Breakdown, a weekly podcast covering the entirety of sci-fi mega franchise Mobile Suit Gundam from 1979 to today.
This is episode 11.12, Night of the Living Death Army, and we're your hosts. I'm Tom, a longtime Gundam fan, and I can't take this anymore, man. I'm getting out of here.
And I'm Nina, new to G Gundam and once again in love with a mobile suit design that almost certainly does not have a gunpla kit. As an ad-free independent podcast, Mobile Suit Breakdown is championed by our paying subscribers. Thank you all, and special thanks to our newest patron, Allison S. You keep us a Genki. If you just can't get enough of Tom and I talking, here is a reminder that most of our patron tiers get access to years worth of bonus episodes. Extra research, extended episodes and outtakes, Gundam discussions with friends who have zero Gundam context, and lots more. Recently, we have done watch-along tracks for G Gundam episodes, continued the Witching Hour series, where we do some discussion-only coverage of Witch from Mercury, and a new series called Nina's Revenge, where I am making Tom read one of my favorite book series, the Temeraire novels by Naomi Novik, and then we chat about them. All of which is accessible through our Patreon page, GundamPodcast.com/Patreon.
This week we are covering G Gundam Episode 12, Sono na wa Toho Fuhai, Master Asia Kenzan, or His Name is Undefeated of the East, Master Asia Appears, originally broadcast on July 8th, 1994. Episode 12 features the first appearance of the titular Master Asia, aka Toho Fuhai, at least as a speaking character rather than as a brief flashback to a man standing on the back of a horse. But we have been hearing his voice all along in the person of series narrator Stalker. Both are voiced by veteran actor Akimoto Yosuke. Originally a TV drama actor, Akimoto got his start in voice acting back in '81, doing additional voices type roles for the Mobile Suit Gundam movie. He's been prolific since then, but his deep voice has naturally led him to specialize in old man characters, which means a lot of roles that are listed simply as so-and-so's father, uncle, old gentleman number 2, and so on. Indeed, after Master Asia, his next most prominent Gundam role is as somebody's dad, though it will be a few years before we get to that. Previously, he played ill-fated Zeon Commando leader Steiner in War in the Pocket, and ill-fated Federation test pilot Dick Allen in 0083. More relevant for G Gundam, he was already playing Shockwave Alberto in Imagawa's Giant Robo when he was picked for G, and, of special interest to myself, he would later play Crown Prosecutor Villefort in the 2004 sci-fi Count of Monte Cristo adaptation Gankutsuo. Now, the play-by-play. Yo, what's up, chat? I'm here in beautiful Shinjuku, Earth, in front of the iconic Studio Alta building, and I've got a really special treat for you today. It costs a lot, but we have got tickets to see an official Gundam fight match between the defending champion Kowloon Gundam of Neo Hong Kong against an unknown mystery opponent. The match is scheduled to start in just a few minutes, and I'm going to be streaming the whole thing for you. I am so excited. This is going to be the best vacation ever. Okay, it looks like we're getting our first sight of the mystery Gundam. It looks like it's supposed to be some kind of like lobster centaur. What colony would make a lobster? Some of the other survivors are heading for Shibuya via the subway tunnels, but I could swear I heard explosions coming from that direction a few minutes ago. Nobody's seen the lobster Gundam since the first attack, so we're probably better off just sitting tight and waiting for Neo Japan to send help. What is that? Does anyone else hear that sound? Does anyone know where it's coming from? Monsters chased us all the way to the Metropolitan Government Building, which seems like the only building in the city that's still standing. The good news is we've still got plenty of food and water, and the building has its own generators, so I was actually finally able to charge my phone. No Wi-Fi though, so I'm just gonna have to keep recording these, and I'll post them when I get back to the colonies. If I get back to the colonies. During the night, we can see hundreds of those horrible red eyes watching us from just beyond the perimeter. We don't have enough firepower to try to break through the siege lines, so we gotta keep our spirits up and wait for Neo Japan to send help. I guess I might try to organize like a talent show or Talent show was a complete disaster, but last night Domon Kashu arrived with his Shining Gundam, and we got to see Master Asia himself in action, which is like, I mean, I know I've said some pretty harsh stuff about Kashu since the Gundam fight started, like how he's a Nepo baby and how he uses the completely OP Shining Finger to compensate for his lack of real skill, but I mean, seeing him up close is a totally different experience. And getting to watch both the current and former Kings of Hearts in action has to be one of the single coolest experiences I've ever had as a Gundam fight influencer. I also heard they brought back some data from one of our scouts, so maybe there's some good news there. I just hope that the two Gundam fighters don't come up with some kind of an insanely reckless plan, but it might be our only shot. It's only a matter of time until we all start cracking up in here. I mean, rumors are already going around that Kashu is all we're gonna get. Neo Japan is not sending any more help. Another of the guards tried to escape on his own last night. You can guess how that went. Tonight, the two Gundam fighters and some of the other guards are gonna wait until the Horde attacks, and then draw them away and try to drown the lot of them in Tokyo Bay. Earlier I saw them practicing this team-up move where the Kowloon Gundam starts spinning, right? It spins so fast that it becomes a ball of flaming energy, only it's still got Master Asia's head. And then the Shining Gundam kind of pushes it. I swear I'm not making this up. Yeah, I don't feel super great about this plan. So I guess to whoever finds these videos, please tell my wife to delete my hard drive. Actually, maybe just launch my whole computer into space. G Gundam presents some unique analytical challenges, and one of those is that every episode is a different genre. Most Gundam shows are only one genre, the mecha genre.
I would say that most other Gundam series choose a genre, but then very occasionally make one episode every once in a while that is a different genre.
G Gundam, every episode is based on a different movie. Every episode is a different genre.
We're in the zombie movie phase now, right?
Just last week we were doing romantic melodrama, and now we're doing zombie movies.
All the survivors congregating in a single place that has symbolic significance, but also creates a sense of safety for people.
The one building that's intact and still has power and food and is now heavily guarded by the survivors.
One of the biggest dangers is actually from the psychological toll, the fear and stress of all of this.
Maybe we were the real enemies all along.
A horde of monstrous creatures coming for you unendingly.
They're even undead. They're called the Death Army, presumably because they're skeletons inside those cockpits. Weird, freaky skeleton guys.
And that's almost worse, right? In the same way that part of the horror of zombies is that they look like people and they used to be people and now they're not, but they are, but they're not. That horrifying DG cell skeleton with plugs in its eye sockets.
Yeah.
Especially contrasted with the fact that they give very human-looking eyeballs to the Death Army themselves. Those mobile fighters, they almost even look like they have an iris and a pupil. They're Cyclops, but they have a big ol' eyeball in the front of their face.
Here, it's probably worth distinguishing between the mobile fighter and the mobile suit.
Okay, so there are mobile suits.
Yes.
Okay.
So the defensive suits that are used by the Neo Japan Self-Defense Force guys, those are mobile suits.
Okay.
The Kowloon Gundam and the Shining Gundam, those are mobile fighters.
Okay.
The Death Army, I think, are probably mobile suits, but they might be one of those weird examples that gets a third bespoke categorization, like how the ball from First Gundam was called a mobile pod.
Right. Okay.
Maybe the Death Army are I don't know, they run around on 4 legs, so maybe they're mobile horses. Uma Mobile Suit.
4 legs with 2 extra backup legs.
That was so cool. 6 legs total for 8 limbs.
I love the Death Army mobile suits.
They're really good.
I love that they run around on 4 legs. I love that they have the legs are just for show moment where they launch themselves legless at that one guy. And then, boom, extra legs deploy. Didn't know they had those, did you?
I really like the design of the Death Army. And they behave, even before we find that they contain weird skeleton guys, they behave more like living creatures, more like insects, maybe, than like machines. There are moments when they visibly respond with fear or surprise.
Although at the same time, the way Master Asia describes their behavior is as though they have a kind of rudimentary AI piloting system.
It seems that way. But then what really struck me is when the like distress call goes out from the one that gets damaged inside the perimeter of the government building, the others don't all in lockstep turn, immediately know where the signal is coming from and go directly back towards it. There's a moment of all of them like looking around, trying to identify where the sound is coming from, each one individually. And then like one after another, they progressively figure it out and turn one by one and begin marching back.
So we could think of them less as kind of having a rudimentary sort of algorithmic or AI, as we might call it now, controlling them mechanically, and might instead think of them as like a very simple organism that has fairly reliable responses to certain stimuli.
Well, they make me think of insects. When an ant is injured, it releases pheromones that attract other ants. And this is true for many different kinds of insects. I was thinking of the giant, scary centipedes that Japan has, the mukade, that also, when one of them is killed, releases a pheromone that attracts others.
A couple other things that I noticed about their design. The spike on the top of the head is reminiscent of, I believe, World War I German helmets, right?
The Pickelhaube, yes. And there have been other mobile suits that have incorporated that.
Well, even the Kowloon Gundam has a spike on the top of its helmet, though the rest of its armor is clearly more sort of Chinese culture inflected.
Right. I mean, I think the spike on the top of the Pickelhaube comes from helmets used to have spikes on them so that you could mount a plume there.
They should have plumes.
They should have plumes. I'm pro-plume in almost any context. In the opening narration from Stalker, this doesn't get conveyed in the English subtitles at all, but I'm pretty sure he describes this as a Death Army death match. Desa Army Desmachi.
Wow.
And it reminds me of that like gimmick they do in pro wrestling sometimes, where one fighter or a wrestling tag team will have to face off against like 30 guys in the ring.
Yeah. Well, that's probably part of the inspiration.
And having this thought then like unlocked something in my brain about the show in general. This is why nobody cares about the rules. This is why they're always breaking the rules. Because if you ever watch pro wrestling, they break the rules all the time. Oh, the ref didn't see it. That's why there's 5 guys in the ring. That's why he got hit with a steel chair. The rules say you can't hit another Gundam fighter with a steel chair, but it's not like anyone is ever going to enforce those, and it's not like anyone is ever going to suffer any kind of consequences for them.
And finally, Tom is going to love this. When the Death Army fly, their 4 legs come together into sort of like a single point as they fly around, which is the exact same thing that some of the Melefs do in Escaflowne when they're flying around. In particular, I believe it's the enemy Melefs that do this.
Zybox Alcides.
Escaflowne had not come out yet, so it's entirely possible that that aspect of the design in Escaflowne was actually informed by this.
Yeah, well, the team that will go on to make Escaflowne is, with a couple of notable exceptions like Imagawa himself, basically the team that made G Gundam. They make G Gundam, they stick together to make Escaflowne, they stick together to make Cowboy Bebop a few years later after that.
Banger after banger.
And then a bunch of them go off to found Studio Bones, which will make further bangers in the future. Where do you think the Devil Gundam is getting all of these Death Army mobile suits? And where is it getting these skeletons?
I hadn't really thought about it, but if I had to hazard a guess, I would say that these are all mobile suits that exist in the world and their pilots that have been taken over by the DG cells and transformed in some way.
I suspect that the Death Army itself may have been created by the Devil Gundam, but the pilots, these are probably the corpses of actual pilots that the Devil Gundam has found and repurposed.
Well, and created them how? Like, does the Devil Gundam have the ability to just, like, pull elements raw out of the earth and mold them into mobile suits?
I assume there's some sort of internal womb that births Death Army mobile suits. The thing about the skeletons that made me think they had to be like pre-existing pilots, pre-existing former pilots, I guess, is that they're wearing these like old style, bulky pilot suits. They're wearing suits that a skeleton would never need. And so if you were just imbuing a skeleton with DG cell-based life in order to animate your new mobile suit army, you wouldn't create that pilot suit.
This may fall into the category of don't worry about it. But if the Devil Gundam were making these mobile suits from scratch, why wouldn't you just make them self-piloting? Why give them a human-ish pilot at all?
Sure. There's not a brain in there that can be reconstituted. If you've gotten down to the skeleton level, all the soft bits are gone anyway. So yeah, I don't know exactly what raw material they're getting out of it. Maybe the skeletons are just in there to be spooky. One does get the impression that the Devil Gundam is doing things specifically to mess with the fighters psychologically. It did not need to appear like a phantom in the sky behind them at the end of the episode.
And what purpose would it systematically destroying Tokyo serve, right? And why did it go specifically after Master Asia?
I have some thoughts.
Oh?
So the thing about this scenario, this siege setup, is that they probably could have taken out the government building at any point before Domon got there. I don't think this is a siege. I think this is a trap. This was meant to lure in Gundam fighters.
And possibly specifically to lure in Domon. Because while it may only be Earth, wow, Kyoji may have anticipated that the Neo-Japan government would feel the need to do something about this situation, and who are they going to send but Domon? And if Master Asia is in trouble, who is going to help him but Domon?
Right. Master Asia was lured here very specifically. And doesn't it seem like something meaningful passes between Major Urube and Dr. Mikumura Sr. after their call with the commissioner? They have this weird little conspiratorial nod.
There is absolutely something they haven't told the government, that they haven't told is he a general? Who is this guy? I don't remember.
I think he's the head of the
Gundam Fight Program or something.
Neo Japan's Gundam Olympic Committee or whatever.
Anyway, they told him what they needed to tell him to achieve a particular outcome that they wanted. I don't think they told him everything. Switching gears somewhat, but this was another really good-looking episode, I thought.
It was, definitely.
On the one hand, and this was not an animation thing, this was a design thing, but they have all these little Tokyo vignettes of the city destroyed, which for a Japanese audience would have really hit. These would have been sights that were very familiar to a lot of them. The narrator is sitting on a busted-up train car. There's a classic taxi, a JR train stations, a movie billboard. The other mobile suits look like riot police or defense force, or I thought of Pat Labors.
When Master Asia is waiting for the Devil Gundam at their appointed meeting spot for their battle in his flashback, he's in front of Studio Alta, which it doesn't exist anymore, but it was an iconic Shinjuku landmark. And it's ironic because it was a very popular place for people to meet up.
Well, that's got the clock right there.
And of course, Studio Sunrise is based in Tokyo, the animators know this area like the back of their hands. This is the first time they've been in a place that is familiar to all of them. And I happen to remember that Imagawa talked about basically forcing his staff to go out into the city and do location scouting. He saw it as an opportunity to teach them about like the importance of location scouting for filmmaking. He makes it sound a bit like a school field trip when everybody is, you go to the museum and everybody is assigned their little worksheet of things they have to find in the museum.
And those are all stills, but there's also some really beautiful animation, especially in the fights, especially in the combat. In particular, the little special handshake that Domon and Master Asia have when they meet up again.
Their fusion dance.
Yeah.
Bros simply yearn even, to perform elaborately choreographed martial arts routines with their bros.
Well, I just keep thinking of the, I don't think you've seen this, but in one of the episodes of The Good Place, Jason and his best friend Pillboy have a special handshake. And when they're saying goodbye, potentially for a long time, they're like crying, but they're doing their special handshake routine the whole time. It's so good.
Oh, the relationship between Domon and Master Asia is so touching.
Yes. Domon would have been 10 or 11 when he went to start training with Master Asia. He has actually spent more of his life living with Master Asia than with his own parents. And now, with his mother dead, his father in cryosleep, and his brother, disowned because of his part in all this, Master Asia is the only family Domon has left.
And at times, Master Asia acts kind of like a father, but most of the time he acts like a big brother.
When he's like teasing him
Exactly.
And like giving him a noogie.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you think you're a tough guy now, huh?
Master Asia is the big brother Domon has lost and found again. That's why it's so affecting for him.
Well, and at the same time, the father that he doesn't have to consult. I thought of this a lot when he was crying and he says, I've been so longing to see you again. Because Domon feels as though he has to be strong in front of everyone all the time for various reasons. And a father figure or grandfatherly figure is basically the only person that he can show any weakness in front of, that he can say, actually, I'm really struggling. Like, I need support. I need help. This is really hard.
I think Domon deserves plaudits for not imposing his maternal yearning feelings onto Rain.
Yes.
Because there's been no evidence of that so far in the show. And another character, especially a different Gundam protagonist in a series made by, let's say, a different director, would have been all about the mommy girlfriend, projecting that yearning onto Rain and expecting her to be his mother.
How much of that is just the difference in the kind of story that G is, and how much of that is that Domon is, I think, the oldest protagonist we've had so far? Because it seems much more natural for a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old whose mom is dead to be like, oh, please take care of me, slightly older lady.
Well, that's the other thing. Tomino's protagonists tend to have crushes on slightly older ladies.
And to be quite young.
Whereas Rain and Domon seem to be of an age.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed unremarkable until we met Master Asia and saw how desperate Domon was for the reassurance of an older family member.
Oh, but I was talking about the animation. That moment when Master Asia beheads one of the Death Army with the ribbon. Oh, so cool.
With his scarf.
Yep.
It's real good. Good fighting animation in this episode. Both the really like showy posing when he does his like special electric bullet attack, and then just generally good fighting animation. I thought the big battle sequence when they first go out to attack the horde of Death Army, it's not just well drawn, it's so well constructed. It's well directed. Those interstitial shots where you see like first Domon and Master Asia are doing a bunch of cool martial arts and they're destroying Death Army mobile suits one by one. But then you see a cut of 3 or 4 Death Army mobile suits, heads down, just like trudging forward like soldiers marching through a trench, the light shining on them from above, Then you see some more cool martial arts, and then it's a cut of like ranks of Death Army faces, some of them moving one direction, some of them moving the other, and they keep cutting back to that. It shows so effectively how no matter how many mobile suits they punch or kick apart, there are simply too many of them to fight. It's a wonderful contrast between the cool, exciting martial arts of our heroes and the seeming inevitability of destruction when they are overwhelmed by the horde. You can't kill them all.
There's also really nice contrast between some of the more serious moments and some decidedly silly ones. Domon Hadoukens Master Asia at the enemy. That is ridiculous.
Master Asia's mobile suit becomes a spinning ball of energy with his human face on it.
Yep.
And then Domon, like you said, Hadoukens him through the city, down like 3 miles of city blocks.
It's incredible. There's the fairly serious moment of Master Asia detailing his plan to draw the enemy away and effectively drown them in the ocean in Tokyo Bay, Tokyo Harbor. But then using his cue as a flute to be like, it's the Pied Piper plan. It's so silly, but wonderful. And then, again, serious, super serious, intense face. Only those brave enough come with me. This is a guy who is faster than a speeding lander, who can catch missiles out of the air and lift whole Gundams on concrete slabs. They know it's ridiculous.
Do you think this episode does a better job of balancing the tone than, say, the Mummy episode?
Yes, I think so.
The moments of humor, while appreciated, they never break the tension.
They feel more like illustrations of Master Asia's personality than like narrative moments of levity that are meant to break tension. Exactly.
He's a guy who is so strong that he can be ridiculous. In this world of martial arts and Gundam fights, you have to be so strong before you can afford to let your inner personality shine through.
I did want to point out that when Master Asia first appears in the episode with like a turban and face covering kind of thing going on and a long cloak, again, felt like a reference to an adventure show that we've talked about previously because we felt like SD Gundam was referring to it, either Moonlight Mask or Messenger of Allah.
Very early tokusatsu shows with similarly attired heroes.
And I had wanted to ask you, we learned that Master Asia was the Neo-Hong Kong Gundam fighter. Is the fact that he keeps appearing standing on horseback a nod to... Didn't that happen in one of the Swordsman movies or something? Wasn't there?
Possibly.
Or some other...
He is very much a reference to the Swordsman movies.
Yeah.
His name, Toho Fuhai, the Undefeated of the East, is a reference to a character from the Swordsman movies, originally from a Chinese wuxia novel, whose name is translated in various ways, but Invincible Dawn is one of them. The whole bit about the East is burning red is a reference to the subtitle of the third Swordsman movie, which focuses on this character. The use of the scarf as a weapon is reminiscent of that character's use of embroidery needles with the threads still attached.
Loved that scene. And small, interesting side note, he mentions that this old Gundam fighter he's using was the Kowloon Gundam. Kowloon Walled City, they began kicking everybody out of it and demolishing it in 93, but they had just finished demolishing Kowloon Walled City in April of 94.
And incidentally, that Tokyo government building where everyone is sheltering, that had only just been completed a few years previous.
I was just thinking about how most of the special abilities that we see Master Asia demonstrate in this episode are just more powerful versions of things we've seen Domon do. Domon catches bullets out of the air, but Master Asia can catch missiles. Domon is really fast, but he's not as fast as a lander fast.
Mm-hmm.
And the introduction of Master Asia here may signal the moment at which Domon starts to realize or accept or perhaps just accidentally accumulate a team.
Perhaps. Intriguingly, in this episode, Rain plays a role very similar to the one Domon played in the prior week's episode.
Oh, yeah.
Where Domon is like, there, helping with the mission, but mostly observing Rain go through this very emotional reunion with a former intimate. Now, Rain is in the position of observing Domon do the same thing. Also very similar to what she was doing during his bad trip in space.
And she has never seen Domon around Master Asia before. She only ever saw Domon when he was back home. She'd never witnessed their relationship, and especially contrasted with how Domon has been ever since he became the Gundam fighter, you can tell she's surprised. And I think feels a little sad. Not that he's happy, she's glad that he's happy, but that she can't make him this happy. That being around her can't have a similar sort of lightening effect on him. And obviously, you can't be all things to all people.
As in the Mummy episode, she was distraught to see Domon's bottomless well of anger, to see him turned so hard and cruel and violent, so dedicated to destruction. Now she sees the opposite. She sees a relaxed Domon, a happy Domon, who is not forced to be the unconquerable Gundam fighter at all times, Domon who can put away for a moment the burden of being the King of Hearts, because he is in the presence of an even greater King of Hearts. It gives her a better sense for the full range of Domon's emotional self, which means that now she has a better sense for where he has been throughout the course of their association thus far, which is to say, in kind of a bad place.
Well, and of what he risks losing forever. It's very similar, actually, to the Bad Trip episode, because a lot of what was so painful for Rain then was seeing him happy and relaxed around his family and being able to contrast that with how he's been since he lost them.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps it has not occurred to Domon, but it probably has to Rain. Master Asia is a Gundam fighter, and so is Domon, and they're going to have to fight. That's how the Gundam fight works. Unless somebody else gets there and defeats one of them first.
Unless all the Gundam fighters unionize. Every last Gundam fighter says, no, we're not going to do this anymore.
Nina, the NFL has a players' union, and they still have to play games. That's not how unions work in sports.
They could organize a strike.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know what their demands would be, but they could organize a strike.
Bigger Gundams, more steroids, fewer bombs strapped to chests. Maybe a complete ban on strapping bombs to chests.
Maybe the reverse Quattro Pagina. All the politicians have to come live on Earth for the duration of the Gundam fight.
Some more notes on the Death Army, briefly, since this is the first time we've met them. You notice that they have clubs that are also guns?
I hadn't realized the clubs and guns were the same thing. I thought they were separate.
Yeah, the club and the gun is the same thing.
I like the spiky club.
It's, I assume, based on the spiky clubs that Oni carry.
Yeah.
The Kanabo. I feel fairly certain I did a research piece on the Kanabo at one point. Go back to the archives, look it up. You'll find it. Just maybe listen to all of our previous episodes again. I don't know.
And the signal that they use to call to each other is, it seems, not merely audible across a very long distance, but potentially somewhat painful to humans. That guard seems to find it painful.
The one who nearly gets everybody killed?
Yeah, that guy.
I'll finish it quickly. Proceeds to shoot like 60 bullets and only hit the legs.
Yeah, from very close range too.
And
then acts really proud of himself, like, yeah, got him.
Man, I think these mobile suits are not very good.
Don't blame the mobile suits for the pilot's failings. Poor little mobile suit.
This is political commentary on the ineptitude of the Japanese self-defense force.
Do you think so, really?
No. I mean, maybe a little bit.
Did you notice when that one intelligence officer, recon plane, whatever, crashes, we get a quick glimpse of his helmet as he's laying unconscious in his on-fire plane. And it has this yellow thing on the side that looks a lot like the chrysanthemum emblem that's on a bunch of the Defense Force uniforms.
I mean, it probably is, like, this probably is supposed to be the descendant of the JSDF.
Master Asia's ki energy is so strong. He can just say explode and things explode.
That's just good timing. He knew it was going to explode anyway.
With a gesture, he can light skeletons on fire.
Okay, that was a little... That was extraordinary. Is he doing the Sailor Mars thing where he like throws a talisman at it and we just don't see the talisman?
It moves so fast, we don't see the talisman. I don't know. It happens in that first fight too, though. He like strikes a martial arts pose and a bunch of stuff explodes or lights on fire.
They never taught me that move.
Well, you didn't train for 10 years with the King of Hearts.
You know what? That's true. My life would be very different if I had trained for 10 years with the King of Hearts. Would it be better? Hard to say.
We probably wouldn't have met, so I think definitively we can say it would not be better.
I would probably not be making a Gundam podcast right now. And then where would all of you be?
The Tokyo to Chosha, or Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building, plays a major role in this episode. From a design perspective, it's an environmental focal point the episode returns to again and again that both grounds the story in a real physical place and serves as a visual metaphor, a beacon of light in a dark and dangerous world. And from a narrative perspective, it is the relatively safe, undamaged place that the disaster survivors flock to, the baited trap meant to attract Domon to Tokyo, and a symbol of government and bureaucracy for good and for ill. But there are many famous landmarks in Tokyo and other government buildings among them, so why this one? I dug into the building's history, hoping to find out. Commonly referred to as Tocho, it is actually a complex of 3 structures, which have, since they were finished, been the seat of the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, covering the 23 special wards, 26 cities, 1 district, 4 sub-prefectures of Tokyo Metropolis. Located in the special ward of Shinjuku, an area once notorious for its red light district and organized crime activity, full of gay bars and avant-garde artists, Tocho became a symbol of the urban renewal that turned Shinjuku into a major economic hub, and, according to its Wikipedia page, the site of the world's busiest railway station. The 3 structures, each taking up its own city block, are the Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly Building, Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building No. 2, and the most prominent and the one featured in this episode, Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building No. 1. Designed by architect Tange Kenzo with structural engineering by Muto Kiyoshi, construction began in March or April of 1988, sources differ, and was completed in December of 1990, less than 3 years start to finish, at a cost of roughly 157 billion yen. Our focus, Building No. 1, has a roof height of 242.9 meters, or 797 feet, and is 48 floors. It splits into 2 sections at the 33rd floor. At the time of its completion, it was the tallest building in Japan, though it only held that honor until 1993. However, it was the tallest building in Tokyo until 2007. With a public plaza, guided tours, numerous events, a tourist information center, shops, cafes, and 2 free observation decks, Tocho has become a popular tourist destination. When visibility is good, Mount Fuji, Tokyo Skytree, Tokyo Tower, Meiji Jingu Shrine, Yoyogi Park, and the Tokyo Dome are all visible from those observation decks. As is typical of these kinds of buildings, there is art exhibited all around the facility and its grounds, mostly sculpture, but also paintings, mosaics, and murals. The bronze sculpture panned over in the episode, a standing figure with arms outstretched, is one of these, Kaze no Naka, or In the Wind, by Goro Kake. The lead structural engineer, Muto, is considered the father of the Japanese skyscraper for his contributions to earthquake engineering. While working as a professor of structural engineering, Muto was responsible for many new developments in earthquake-resilient design, led the team that designed Japan's first high-rise building, which included the first energy dissipation system used in Japan, and created a simple but accurate new method for a common piece of structural analysis. Called the D method, it replaced a much more time-consuming set of calculations, and was widely used for many years throughout the world. By the time Tocho was under construction, Muto had already been awarded the Imperial Prize of the Japan Academy and the Architectural Institute of Japan Award, been recognized as a person of cultural merit, and received the Order of Culture. Described by architectural icons as one of Japan's great 20th century architects, Tange Kenzo is best known in Japan for projects he took on after World War II, such as the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park, Tokyo Cathedral, and Yoyogi National Gymnasium. But in his career, he took on major projects on 5 continents, and is also famous for the Minneapolis Institute of Art expansion, UOB Plaza, that's United Overseas Bank, Singapore, One Raffles Place, also in Singapore, and the Supreme Court of Pakistan building. Sources describe him as an ambitious, original urban planner, a forerunner, mentor, and patron of the metabolist movement, and a mentor and teacher to many of the next generation of renowned Japanese architects. In his long career, Tange was awarded the Royal Gold Medal from the Royal Institute of British Architects in 1965, the American Institute of Architects, or AIA, Gold Medal in 1966, the Premium Imperial for Architecture in 1993, and the Pritzker Prize, sometimes called the Nobel Prize of Architecture, in 1987, the first Asian person to win the award. Tange also received the French Legion of Honor, the Japanese Order of Culture and Order of the Sacred Treasure, and the Order of St. Gregory the Great, a knighthood awarded by the Holy See. Ironically, in the 1950s, Tange designed an earlier administrative building for the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, located in Yurakocho. Then, over 30 years later, he won the contest to design the new Tocho in Shinjuku, though there was some grumbling at the time that Tange's win was rigged, as he had a close personal connection to the then governor of Tokyo. Though Tange did not pass away until 2005, Tocho was one of his last projects. What does this masterpiece that dominates the skyline actually look like? Lonely Planet humorously describes it as a pixelated cathedral, or perhaps the lair of an animated villain. The facade is characterized by intricate geometric patterns in light and dark granite, the sheer face becoming increasingly articulated as the 2 towers ascend. Multiple sources describe the overall structure, with its split into 2 separate towers on the upper floors, as reminiscent of Gothic cathedrals, and the geometric patterns on the facade as inspired by traditional Japanese windows, sliding screens, and wood paneling. Other aspects of the design are said to resemble circuit boards and other electronic components. Typical of Tange's style is this interplay between tradition and modernity, east and west, nature and technology. In his writing, Tange said that tradition can be compared to a catalyst. It stimulates our design process, but just as a catalyst disappears after the chemical reaction, so tradition does not remain in the final design. The website Architectural Icons describes Tocho as one of the world's great postmodern civic buildings, while World Atlas ranks it as one of the 7 modern architectural wonders of Tokyo, alongside Tokyo Tower, Yoyogi National Gymnasium, also designed by Tange, Mode Gakuen Cocoon Tower, Tokyo Sky Tree, St. Mary's Cathedral Tokyo, another Tange design, and Nakagen Capsule Tower, which sadly was disassembled and demolished in 2022. As one of Tokyo's most iconic structures, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building often appears in Japanese media. I won't give an exhaustive list of appearances, but it has been in numerous Godzilla films. In the 1991 Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, a fight between the 2 kaiju sends Godzilla crashing through the middle of the building, which is probably why Godzilla is the tourism ambassador for Shinjuku. It's in one of the Patlabor movies, the Vision of Escaflowne movie, 4 Shinkai Makoto films, the TV series Chojin Sentai Jetman and Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger, Witch Hunter Robin, Sergeant Frog, Digimon Tamers and Digimon Savers, Brave King Gaogaigar Final, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Second Gig, and City Hunter 2. It's an important setting in multiple novels and is in the video games Drakengard and Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2. In many of these works, Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building 1 is a target for terrorism and destruction. The question is, why? Because if you think about iconic buildings of various world cities, something I've been doing a lot of for G Gundam, you realize they are never just cool big buildings or old buildings. They become emblems, symbols of certain things about the city and its people. To tease apart the many meanings of Tocho Building 1, it's helpful to dig into architect Tange Kenzo's background, politics, and design philosophy. Despite dodging the draft multiple times, first by enrolling in a university program he barely attended while he tried to get into architecture school, then by enrolling in postgrad studies right at the start of World War II, Tange seems to have been a big proponent of the Japanese imperial project. The son of a banker, he spent his childhood in Japanese-occupied China and in the British concession in Shanghai. He won a design competition, although it was never realized, for a Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere Memorial Hall, which he designed as, quote, a fusion of Shinto shrine architecture and the plaza on Capitoline Hill in Rome. One source gave the following anecdote. In response to a 1942 questionnaire regarding his views on style and architectural policy for the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, he stated, "We must ignore both Anglo-American culture and the pre-existing cultures of the Southeast Asian races. We should start out with an unshakable conviction in the tradition and the future of the Japanese races." His views may have changed later in life, but it seems to me that some of that desire to elevate and aggrandize Japan and Japan's role in the world comes across in his later goals of creating a specifically Japanese style of modern architecture and the achievement of religious monumental transcendence through architecture. What do I mean? Well, many of his projects, such as the Yoyogi Gymnasium built for the Olympics, or structures he designed for the Osaka World Expo in 1970, were meant to raise Japan's international profile, to inspire awe and admiration not just for his designs, but for Japan itself, and to make clear that Japanese arts, culture, and society had their own unique character, that Japan was not a living museum of preserved tradition, but neither was it a mere copy of the West. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building thus became a symbol of Tokyo's evolution as a leading global city. In post-war Japan, especially during the economic boom, the more literal empire was replaced by a kind of economic empire. Instead of military force conquering territory, wealth and economic power conquered business territory, as Japanese businesses bought up companies and real estate all over the world. In the same way that Japan's colonies and the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere were meant to put Japan on an equal footing with the European and American empires, the cutting-edge technology of Japan's cities, government, and industry were conceived as projecting power and giving Japan more influence in international affairs. Consider that the design contest for Tocho would have been at the tail end of the bubble, but that by the time construction was completed, the bubble was bursting. In just a few years, we go from Japan is going to rule the world to the much more modest ambitions I talked about in my early 90s events rundown. A fall which is echoed by this G Gundam episode when Master Asia says, "This city, once the center of a great economic power, has been reduced to ruins." The ruins are literal in G Gundam, but there was plenty of figurative ruin going around in Japan at the time. Another significant aspect of Tange's philosophy is his attitude towards technology. His obituary in The Guardian quotes him as saying, "We live in a world where great incompatibles coexist. The human scale and the superhuman scale, stability and mobility, permanence and change, identity and anonymity, comprehensibility and universality. I like to think there is something deep in our own world of reality that will create a dynamic balance between technology and human existence, the relationship between which has a decisive effect on contemporary cultural forms and social structure." He was particularly interested in the writing of Norbert Wiener, often credited as the inventor of cybernetics. And just as Wiener likened the information processing machine to the human nervous system, Tange likened buildings and urban design to both. He considered buildings and cities a kind of information technology, networks for the flow, transmission, and storage of information / people and goods. As one source put it, The transfer of people through the corridors and elevators of number 1 building emulates the transfer of information through electrical signals in a computer. Not only does the building employ the iconography of a computer chip, it also functions as one. At the same time, he saw cities as living organisms, bodies composed of dozens of interconnected systems necessary for it to function. In her chapter for the book Media Theory in Japan, Furuhata Yuriko describes Tange's approach, each building, each city, as atmospheric media. Atmosphere in the sense that it surrounds us, we live in it. Media in the sense that it communicates something to everyone who interacts with it. His works communicate a vision of Japan as a global power, and Furuhata concludes that the, quote, legacy of Tange Lab is inseparable from the grand project of nation building. Tocho was symbolic of the city's bureaucratic might, acclaimed for innovative design and towering presence, symbolizing Tokyo's post-war resurgence, and criticized for being out of scale with Tokyo's traditional urban fabric, an outrageous public expense at a time when the promise of urban renewal was being undercut by increasing poverty and homelessness, including in the vicinity of the building. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building is a symbol of modernity, technology, bureaucratic efficiency, prosperity, economic and global power. How Japan saw itself at the height of the economic boom years, a spectacular comeback after the humiliation and defeat of World War II. The wreckage that surrounds it in this episode, and the fall that wreckage symbolizes, begs the question, were these the right ideals to build a national identity around?
In a very interesting coincidence, the college program that Tange enrolled in order to avoid the draft,
the first time,
where he rarely, if ever, attended classes, is the same college program Tomino graduated from about 20 years later. Nihon University's Department of Film. Tomino also reports not really going to classes.
I get the impression that just might kind of be a thing for a lot of students in Japan. Or anywhere, I don't know. Next week, Tom regales us with the latest installment in his series on the history of Yugoslavia. And the following week, we will be back on G Gundam with MSB episode 11.13, Big Gundams in Little Shinjuku, where we'll research and discuss G Gundam episode 13 and Pirate Radio. When you're near me, darling, can't you hear me? SOS. Team King of Hearts is blasting off again! The 4 Gundams of the Apocalypse. The Grey Lady. After Images with Mass. Going off the rails on a crazy train. We support women's fights. I thought I was your Gundam fight partner.
And a moment that made Nina literally gasp.
Ready? Go!
Mobile Suit Breakdown is written, recorded, and produced by us, Tom and Nina, in scenic New York City, within the ancestral and unceded land of the Lenape people, and made possible by listeners like you. The opening track is Wasp by Misha Dioxin, the closing music is Long Way Home by Spinning Ratio, and the recap music is Window by 1000 Hands. You can find links to the sources for our research, the music used in the episode, additional information about the Lenape people, and more in the show notes on our website, GundamPodcast.com. You can get in touch with us by email at hosts@GundamPodcast.com. If you'd like to support the show, please tell your friends about us, leave us a nice review wherever you listen to podcasts, or if you'd like to support us financially, you can do so at GundamPodcast.com/Patreon. Or look for other ways to support the show at GundamPodcast.com/support. Most of all, thank you for listening. Are you ready to come down to Neo New York and throw hands over your Gundam opinions? No? You lack conviction. Or maybe you just haven't heard an opinion worth fighting over yet. So how about this one, from Fancy Wookie? Average participant is kidnapped 3 times per Gundam fight factoid actually just a statistical error. Average participant is captured 0 times per fight. Kidnapping's Mikamura, who is a mechanic doctor coach girlfriend bodyguard for Neo Japan and is kidnapped over 10,000 times per Gundam fight, is an outlier and should not have been counted. And doesn't it seem like there's a siren outside? Doesn't it seem like there's a siren outside? But his deep voice has naturally led to him. Gosh.
The song has grown on me a lot, although I realize lately I've been so focused on the lyrics to the song and trying to get it that I had missed a whole bunch of things in the new intro, like the bird and the horse.
You were too busy saying "nai" when you should have been saying "nay."
And now it's making you do it now?
No, it's not making me do it. It's just that every time I restart my computer, which is now like 5 years old, it's like, finish setting up your computer. You're just a few steps away. I will never finish setting up my computer, Microsoft. It will die unfinished, like all of us.
My Apple phones always want me to set up Face ID, and I'm like, nope, not doing that. And they're like, finish setting up Face ID. No. Sign in with your fingerprint. No. Not doing it. Go away.
I think all of the troubles began when we allowed the computers to talk to each other.
Probably. That seems right.